Now let's move into the fascinating world of variables and parameters. And in this video entitled Using Variables, I just want to jump in here and show you how to use one. It's the easiest way to understand. Now these things are not intuitive, so I'm just going to show you a simple little example here, and then you can build on it from here. Now as it turns out, there are actually tools out here in our data flow tasks that are built to use variables. You have to have a variable to make them work, and row count is one of those. Now notice what I've done here to save time. I've set up an OLEBD data source for connecting to the DIM customer table in the AdventureWorks DW 2012. And as you can see here, it's bringing back some data, and I'm going to send it out to a flat file destination. Okay, and so when I right click this, and I'll just execute this task and make sure that we're working okay, you can see that it's going to move some information around. Then it's going to show me right here that it's successful, assuming it's going to be successful. And notice it has moved 5,060 rows, 10,000, 18,484 rows. Okay, and so what I want to do now though is to create a variable to store this number of rows in. All right, well, if you don't see a variables window down here, and I don't, and if you don't see one along the bottom on these tabs, all you have to do is go to, first of all, stop the package, then go up here to this SIS entry on the menu and just click it, and then come down and choose variables, and you will see the variable window there. Now right click, left click right here on the add variables icon, and let's add a variable called number of rows. All right, and notice the scope is package. It's an integer 32 type. We'll leave that alone, and we'll just leave the value at 0 for now, and then we could work with an expression, and we'll talk about those later on. But for now, we've created a rows, and it's scoped for the entire package. So I can see it in my data flow task. If I come back out here to control flow to this window, I can read it out here. So let's just go to the data flow task right here. Okay, and what I want to do now is remove this, and let's insert the row count between those. And so what I'm going to do now is take this, connect it to row count, and then take row count and connect it to the file destination, to the flat file destination. If I right click here and edit this, you're going to notice that all it's asking for is a variable to drop that into. And so there is, notice the format here, user number rows. Okay, and so I'll take that and click OK. Now if I run this again, no big deal here. It's going to run just fine. It's going to load my number of rows variable, and you know, as you can imagine, not a lot different is going to happen. It's going to get loaded up, but nothing's going to happen with it. So what can we do with that? Well, what we can do is, at this point, we can put a script task out there and utilize that. And I want to show you how easy this is to do. And so what I'm going to do is go back out to our control flow, and I am just going to drop a script task right here. Once I stop the processing, I'm going to drop a script task here. And then on the successful completion of the data flow task, I want to run this script task. Now notice I'm going to double click the script task, all right, and then I'm just going to edit script. Now I'm leaving out a step here because I want to make sure that you remember it, and that you understand it, and you see what the problems could be. Okay, now when we jump into a script, notice right here the entry point is main, and we're going to write using C#, and we're going to actually create a script out in Visual C#. Okay, so it's going to take it a minute for Visual C# to open up. Don't worry about all this. It's going to do all the housekeeping for us. And then we're going to scroll down here and write our code right here. Notice it says to do, add your code right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create an integer called nr for number of rows. All right, and then I'm going to set nr equal to, and I'm going to cast to integer so that we make sure it's right. Now notice what happens here. DTS dot variables. So there's DTS variables. And then I can put in here in single quotes the variable that I created, right? And it was an NBR OWS. And then I can call dot value. And then I'm just setting the value of that equal to NR. All right. Then what I'm going to do is call a message box dot show and just put NR plus rows were processed. Okay. And so I'll save that. Then I will close this. And what I'm going to do is stop right here. This will be the end of part 1. And join me back in part 2, and we'll finish this example, and you can see how we're using the variables.